But I think we're going to have more of a conversation about immigration, if that's okay. Your thoughts on this mass deportation plan and how it might be implemented?
Well, first of all, let's keep in mind that if you want to deport somebody, there are 4 stages. There's the arrest, there's the detention, there's the legal proceedings, and of course, the removal part of it. And there's always challenges in each part. Since 2015, ICE has removed 80 out of the people they removed, 82% have been people that are in custody, that is in a city, county, state, or federal jail. And about 18% were at large itself. So keep in mind that's been the history because it's a lot easier to find somebody that's in a jail cell itself. The detention is, of course, how much space we need to keep people. Right. The third part is immigration judges, the legal proceedings. And keep in mind, right now, the judges have about 3.6 million individual cases that are taking 2 to 6 years. And finally, the removal, and this is an important part. There are countries like China, Russia, Venezuela, that do not take anybody out. And if they don't want to accept any of their people, any of their criminals, that provides some challenges. So those are some of the things we need to look at. I would tell the president-elect that we ought to focus on criminals, and we ought to look at the 1.3 million individuals that have final deportation orders that should be removed.
So there's this back and forth to your point about how aggressive the new administration will be, and will it just be criminals? Will they go further than that? And it seems like maybe some Republicans even disagree on this. From the Texas Tribune, this article talked about how Tony Gonzales and Chip Roy were clashing over the plans. Gonzales warning that the mass removals are not feasible. Roy pushes back, said everybody in the country illegally must be deported. How aggressive do you expect them to be? You think they're going to go further than just undocumented criminals, essentially, which is where it's supposed to start?
You got to look at the capacity. I've been working on the ICE budget and Border Patrol budget and Department of Homeland Appropriations for so many years. I think about 10 years. The capacity's not there. I think it'd be good to focus on criminals. I think it'd be also smart that we focus on the final deportation orders, because otherwise we have to look at trying to get other folks that are in the construction or the ag areas. And you've seen some of those rates and some of those plans, what sort of backlash we have and what sort of impact it will have on our economy. So I would definitely start off with criminals and people that have final deportation orders.
Well, the congressman's talking about, we have a screen we can show it, about the industries that might have the largest impact. So that's the other side of this. And I think some people are starting to think about construction workers, to your point, agriculture, hospitality workers, general services, and on down the list in terms of the largest share of undocumented workers. And if those workers are taken out of our economy, there's going to be an impact. Even if you agree with the policy, it's going to have an economic impact. What about the state? I want to ask you about how the state what is already happening in your state and how the interaction with the federal government may go when Trump takes office. Our border correspondent, Ali Bradley, down there in Texas, had new reporting today on the next moves from Governor Greg Abbott. Listen to this.
And what we've learned here today is that this barrier, you can see some of it staged here in the Shelby Park area that's been seized by Governor Abbott. Those buoys are going to be placed in the river. Now, we don't know if they are going to just be an expansion of the current barrier or if they're going to put them in another place. Because right now, what we can tell you is the current barrier stretches about 1,000 feet through the river there in Eagle Pass. This is just outside of Shelby Park. So right now, they're putting them in heavily trafficked areas. So what we can expect is they will likely put one near the Shelby Park area.
And I think it's fair to assume, is it, Congressman, that if the governor wants to be even more aggressive in this next administration, he's obviously not going to get as much pushback. What's the impact of that, do you think?
Yeah, and certainly, look, I want the state and the federal government to work on reasonable border security. I support strong border security. I've been doing this for many years. In fact, I was the one that brought this idea to the Department of Homeland to look at buoys instead of looking at building a fence or a wall. But I would say that right now, the state buoys right now, they're about a quarter of a mile long, The river that we have is 1,000 200 miles. So again, it does cover one particular area, but a quarter of a mile out of 1,200 miles of river is still a long way. So I want to see how the state and the federal government can work on reasonable border security.
All right. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.